There was a Pizzeria Uno that used to play the Counting Crows on loop every night. I know this because I worked there. It was the August and Everything After album, and it went Round Here, then Omaha, then my favorite, Mr. Jones and Me, and around all night long. No one seemed to notice, except, of course, the staff. That was suburban Boston in the 1990s. In 2018 San Francisco, most restaurants have playlists carefully curated to create a certain vibe. At Nguyen Bai, Night Yun plays vintage albums by 1960s Cambodian pop stars to evoke a feeling of the country's golden age. At New Ke Fico, they intentionally turn up the volume on Dire Straits and Talking Heads so we can sing along while eating our tagliatelle. At 8 Tables, Miles Davis croons from a mid-century console record player, living room style. At Kaya, Bob Marley and Toots blare from the speakers to try and transport us from Market Street to Jamaica. And at some places, very few places, and unfortunately typically at the more touristy places, they have live music, maybe to distract from the mediocre food. But at Zuni, we have Bob. Two nights a week, which are the best nights of the week, a host there once told me. I agreed. The 6 o'clock sun streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating the long copper-top bar, and an oddity for a Thursday evening, or any evening really, at Zuni Cafe, a room full of empty tables. Bob Carrau doesn't seem to notice. He strolls in with his embroidered seat cushion under one arm and a tattered yellow Mexican market bag slung over the other, like he has twice a week, every week for the last decade. He nods hello to the hosts, whose names he admits he really should know by now, and heads downstairs to Zuni's underworld, where dishes are washed and ties are ironed, and the staff shares big bowls of pasta. He grabs a small ceramic Mexican plate from his cubby, his tip plate. Bob's not hungry. He had a couple of carrots before he arrived, but otherwise he never eats before he plays. He rarely sticks around to eat afterward either, unless friends come in. Doesn't matter what plates pass by, the thick slices of Levin with sea salt sprinkled butter, the Caesar of all Caesars, not even Zuni's famed roast chicken nestled in warm bread salad temps. As much as he likes it, he likes his partner Tony's roast chicken more. Somehow, unlike everyone else in the restaurant, his mind isn't on the food. It's on his music. For the next 3 hours, beneath a flower arrangement Liberace could die for, he'll play a polished K. Kawai grand piano that stood there almost as long as the restaurant itself. First, Bob opens his wallet. "Don't tell anyone I'm doing this," he says, and proceeds to do what everyone knows everyone with the tip jar does, and feeds himself a $5 bill. Bob never wanted to play for tips. He wasn't even sure he wanted to play for people. On an average night, he might pull in $30, $50 on a good night. Tonight, game 1 of the NBA Finals for the Golden State Warriors, it's so far looking slow. "I've learned how I play has no bearing on how much people tip," he says. "Depends on the night, their mood. He could make a million mistakes, and some big hitter, he says, might still slip him a 20. Bob appreciates every penny, but he doesn't play for the money. He can barely believe Zuni pays him at all. "I guess that means I'm a professional?" He half balks, half marvels at the thought, as he pulls what looks like 40 pounds of spiral-bound jazz fake books out of his bag, some dating back decades. From 5th grade through age 50, playing piano was just a hobby for Bob, something he did on his own, rarely if ever singing along, and always without fanfare. If there happened to be a piano at a friend's house, he'd sneak off while everyone was making dinner. A performer he was not, he promised. "I just see a piano and want to know what it sounds like." But the thing is, his friends thought it sounded pretty good. And his friend owned restaurants, like Alice Waters, whose books he sometimes co-writes, including her latest, Coming to My Senses, and Gilbert Pilgrim of Zuni, which had a piano in need of a player. So one rainy Monday afternoon in 2007, he invited Bob to come in and play a few tunes while he and Judy Rogers worked on the books. He doesn't remember what he played, just how he felt playing. The acoustics were incredible. He gazes from the polished cement floors to the mile-high cathedral-like ceilings. This room is just beautiful, he says, especially when no one is in it. Tonight, it's just a few fellow regulars, a gray-haired woman in a trench coat sitting by herself, another who gives him what he calls the Princess Di wave as she passes the piano. A bearded man in a blazer stops to give him a hearty hug, marveling at having his pick of tables. Who knew the Zuni crowd were such Warrior fans? Bob agrees. The Zuni crowd used to be gayer, he says, chatting as his fingers flutter effortlessly over the keys to the caissons go rolling along. A World War II tune he sneaks in every time. The first night I ever played at Zuni, the U.S. had just sent more troops to Iraq or somewhere, and I was just sitting at the piano, looking around the room, realizing how insulated we were from the world, he says. It's my own silly little protest. Bob was a regular back when Zuni was a sliver at an American-Mexican place. Before Judy Rogers took over in 1987, installed the brick oven, expanded, and turned Zuni Cafe into the iconic restaurant it is today. There was always a piano, he recalls. This one old guy from the Fillmore would play the blues, and I'd just stare at his fingers at how fast they could move, like we now stare at his. Zuni was the kind of place you'd come to cruise, Bob reminisced. In his 30s, he dropped by around 11, hoping to maybe meet someone. I never did, he says, laughing, but it felt like you could. Now, a graying guy in a 20-year relationship, Bob's certainly not here to meet men. He's here to play, and people watch. I'm a voyeur, he says. This gig allows me to be out in public without, really going out. He barely chats to anyone save the bartender, who pours him a single snifter of mezcal halfway through his set, or the server, who always snaps as he strolls past. That's how I can tell the music is getting through, says Bob. Sometimes I think I sound great. Sometimes I think I sound like a guy on a cruise ship. Hardly, says Gilbert, who appreciates the warmth and intimacy that live music adds to a restaurant. What I love about Bob is he's not your typical lounge player. You'll never catch him playing New York, New York. He has standards. He's Zuni's regular celebrity, according to Gilbert. But to Bob's mind, he's pure background. People don't pay attention to me, he says. It's okay. Once, though, Michael Tilson Thomas cruised through and gave him a thumbs up. That felt good. A few years ago, Hillary Clinton came in with a friend of his who asked her if she had any requests. She suggested Moon River, then ordered Manhattan. But her friend urged her to try Zuni's margarita. Oh, I'll just have both, she said, Bob recounts. Wait, maybe don't print that, he says. She's trying to get elected president of the United States. In retrospect, maybe we shouldn't have printed that. Bob flips the pages of his fake book. He has no premeditated lineup. I let the room tell me what to play, he says, and launches into a riff of Have You Met Miss Jones? Time for his break. Garrier, all addicts and hoes, and wanders out the side door onto Market Street. This stretch used to be scarier, all addicts and homeless, he says, strolling a few doors down to his office, an entrance to a mattress shop, and a respite from San Francisco's wintry summer wind. He points to a shiny tech bus and the sleek new sushi spot across the street. A woman jogs by, as does a man pushing a baby stroller, then two matching hoodies. You never used to see any of these people here, or if you did, they were lost, he says. An almost 40-year-old restaurant with a wall of windows exposes more than just the waning evening light. Somehow, though, because this is Zuni, the changing city remains beyond the glass. The clock strikes 9, and a few Warriors revelers start to trickle in. Bob packs up his music, closes the lid on his borrowed piano, and slips the sole $5 back into his wallet. Time to head home. Perhaps Tony's roasted a chicken. Thank you.